So I'm here with Yusuf Kajee, one of our software developers on our event day team. Now, Yusuf, when and why did you start here at RunSignup?
I started back in 2022, like late 2022, and actually started through someone I knew at RunSignup already. There was a developer named Brendan Lyra, and he and I went to college together. And he always used to tell me, especially when he started interning here, how much he loved his job at RunSignup. And I was like, what is RunSignup? And he told me all about the races that you guys are a part of, the charity work that you guys are a part of, and it sounded really fantastic. And so when I first graduated from college, I worked at another company called Darden. Big company, lots of things going on, hard to feel at home there. And so I got really bored of that place. And when Brendan decided he wanted to move to something else, he invited me to apply for the position here at RunSignup. And I jumped at it. It sounded like an amazing opportunity. And I love the team here, and it's been everything he said it was and more.
So not boring.
Yeah, not boring
That's good.
at all.
Now, you're part of the event day team. Usually we've talked to the platform team here. So what's the difference between the event day team and the platform team?
So very much in the name, the event day team works with apps and software that people use on the day of an event, on the day of a race, on the day of a ticket event, anything that someone's directly interfacing with to help check people in or get their scores out. Nothing so much behind the scenes, but very much in the hands of the customer. So the two apps that I work on, Race Day Check-in and Ticket Check-in, those are very much what volunteers will be using on event days to get people situated and actually like get their information set up, do ticket sales even, and merch sales, all sorts of things that like happen on the day of the event.
Now, what is the process like when you go from beginning to end of any project that you're working on?
So every other Friday, I have a meeting with our entire event day team, and Avery, who is our project manager, will tell us what's coming down the pipeline, especially it's coming from the platform team or what's been requested by customers. Then he'll check our availability. We have 2-week sprints.
Now, what is a sprint? I've heard people use that word before.
So a sprint is just a work period, essentially. We do it in 2-week sprints. So it's a period from, one day to a day in the future where we aim to get stuff done. And we have a certain number of tasks that we're trying to get done in that period. And then that way things aren't lost in terms of just it was assigned at some point and it's done eventually. This way we have regular check-ins. We meet with the project managers. We meet with the other members of our team. And we talk about how it's going and how far along it is, and we have very good tracking of how long it took to get to the end goal. So we see what we can get done within this 2-week period from every other Friday to the next Friday, and we have a point system of different difficulties based on how long things are going to take. So if we have bandwidth, we'll move things around to make sure that there's enough space. We'll assign the new project a difficulty, and then we'll assign it to the relevant developers. Recently, I got something to do with ticket windows, being able to limit how many times someone can check in a certain ticket in a certain period. And so we looked at my board, we saw that there was quite a bit on there, and we moved some projects off that were less urgent and moved that one on. And then every Thursday, I do a presentation on how much I've accomplished toward that project. And every other Friday, we'll determine if it's going to stay on the board or if it's been completed and can be moved off.
What projects have you been working on in the past 6 months?
Past 6 months. So we just, as I just mentioned, we did the ticket check-ins, which was an extension of our existing complex ticket types. So we used to only have single-use tickets. We expanded that to have all these different ticket types. We have tickets that are multi-use now, so you can use a same ticket an unlimited number of times, or you can use it a set number of times. And so this is an update to that, where you can take a ticket that's allowed to be used an unlimited number of times and then say only once per day. So you can use an infinite number of times, but only once per day, or once per every 6 hours, or once a week even. And so we're just adding that as more options for events to use to limit the way people can use these tickets and simplify the way they can buy these tickets. So they don't have to buy a new ticket every week. They can use the same ticket purchase and just keep checking in, but not be able to go in 1,000 times per day. So that was one of the ones that we're currently doing, and that's been really exciting. One of the ones prior to this was multi-day timed entry. It's been a big one for our company, where we're introducing time slots for tickets, where you can book a ticket that's set to happen between 9 and 10 a.m. And that's when the ticket's available, especially for businesses to be able to control, or events or races to control when they expect people to come in, and the way you do seating at a restaurant, make sure that you're not overbooking a certain slot or make sure that you know how many people are coming in at a certain time. We've facilitated that and made it possible for anyone who's hosting an event to have that kind of high level management of their time and make sure that it's a good experience for everyone coming in because they have the number of people sorted out.
Now, what are you going to be working on in the next 6 months?
So I'm planning on doing two big things in the next 6 months. One of them is what we call package updates. It's refreshing the app to all of the latest technology that's available. So we use a core infrastructure called React Native that underlies our apps, and they get updates to that technology, like the team behind that. And so every 6 months or so, we'll update our app to match all the latest stuff, and that can bring in new features behind the scenes, make the app more responsive, make the app faster. So that's a big infrastructure push. And then we're doing an overhaul on printing. Printing is a big feature used on both apps. In the Tickets app, we use label printing, so when people buy a ticket, they can get a physical ticket in their hand. At the races, we do bibs and chips on tickets that are printed out sometimes, so people can get their information, wear it. So we're updating our printing process to make it faster, smoother, and enable people to do more with it, like possibly receipt printing in the future, or like custom designs on labels, things that are more personal for the event and can add more value.
Now, what is the importance of updating the infrastructure?
So we use an underlying technology called React Native, and it's open sourced, which means it's a lot of community-driven technologies come together. So a lot of different contributors are creating software that we borrow and that we use to make different things easy and possible. Because if we had to design all of these things ourselves, it would take the next 100 years to come up with all the same features. And each of those pieces that we're relying on gets updated with time and updated to match the latest technologies that are available. So if you have an app and you just don't do anything to it and you leave it there and it's relying on all these technologies, when the technologies change, your app's just going to stop working because it's not keeping up with all those changes that are happening way behind the scenes. So we update our technologies or our versions of the technologies to stay with the latest stuff and make sure everything stays working, and all of the improvements that they're making behind the scenes, we get benefit from that. So we get faster systems, we get more technology available, like when Android and iOS push new features out. By updating, we can keep up with those new features. We can take advantage of like QR scanning on a camera that in the past didn't have it because it got rolled out to iOS, and now we're able to grab that software as well.
So this is how all apps kind of work. They just borrow pieces and got to keep updating with it.
Some are more developed in-house than others, but it takes a lot more time if you're developing all of the pieces yourself. And what you gain for that time spent isn't always huge. It's easier and it's a lot more beneficial for us to let experts design the pieces that they're most familiar with, and then for us to benefit from that. And that way we can get the best stuff out to the customers, the best stuff out to the users a lot faster and a lot more reliably.
So what is the greatest strength of the Event A team?
I'd say communication. So I mentioned the sprints we have before where we check in regularly. We have these Thursday stand-up calls. We also have Wednesday development calls with just the 7 or 8 of us that are on the Event A team, where we talk through things before we present them to our project manager. And we learn from each other. We used to have what's called a Michael's Corner at the end of our Wednesday meetings, where one of our team members would just introduce a new technology to us and walk us through it and talk about how we can use that. And if we run into any weird code, we share that with our team. If we run into new extensions for any of the tools we use, we share that with our team. Like Joshua, who's on my team, recently shared a couple with me that make it a lot easier to find spacing errors in my code. And I would have never found that by myself, but because our team talks and shares all these things with each other, we grow a lot together very quickly, and we find things that could have gone under the radar much more easily because we're just talking about it constantly.
Now, do you have any success stories that you want to share about working for the Event A team?
We had, not long ago, we had a request from one of our big clients to add a feature to do waiver signatures at an event. They wanted to be able to sign agreements so that people knew what they were getting into, so that people's safety was kept in mind, and to protect the event. And so it was a big ask, and they needed it very, very quickly. They needed it within like 2 weeks. And we didn't have any of the technology set up ahead of time to actually get this done. but we really wanted to make it possible for them. We wanted them to have this event go off without a hitch. So I worked weekends, I worked late nights. I made it possible. I wrote up, I think, 3 new screens for the app. We had a few developers with the platform team that we were talking to as well that created a new API for us, which is just a server for us to talk to send this information back and forth. And we made it work, and they absolutely loved it. It went off at the event without a hitch. They were able to get everyone's signatures on the waivers. They were able to get all the forms collected, and the event went great. And we've been using that feature ever since. A lot of events are using it now, which has been very exciting, especially having that quick turnaround time.
Now, did you get to go to the event?
I did not. I haven't been to one yet, but they have a lot of events. I'm going to try and get to one and see how it's all working in action in person.
Well, thanks for talking with us, Yusuf.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.